Done. Right. So we are live on Facebook. We're live on YouTube. Welcome everyone to the Feel Inspired podcast. Here's my phone beeping away. So welcome to the Feel Inspired podcast. I'm, of course, your amazing host, Amit Sodha. And today I've got an amazing show lined up for you because I've got someone incredible who is a communication expert, a public speaking expert, and she helps people increase their confidence, or should we say, teaches people to communicate with confidence. And I think this is something we all need in this day and age. And we will get to the whole Zoom thing as well, because I think even today I was chatting with friends of mine who are seasoned speakers. They are regular speakers. They speak to people online. Spoke to people on stage frequently, and even sometimes hundreds of people. But speaking to people on Zoom, a crowd on Zoom, is actually a very different thing. It's a different kettle of fish altogether. So we're going to be discussing all of this and more in just a moment. But if you've just joined and you're listening to this podcast for the first time, if you're watching live right now, welcome. Glad to have you on board. If you're listening to my podcast for the first time, like I said, my name's Amit Sodha. This podcast was created to help people literally feel inspired in the same way that I've been inspired by reading a book or seeing a quote or hearing a podcast or watching a video on YouTube, whatever it might have been, that it has inspired me to act and to change my life for the better. And I want to recreate that for people. So this is the platform I've created to do that and help people on their journey. So today's guest is a very, very unique, small person in stature, but do you know what? I've got to dig out that picture, by the way, as well. When you speak, I've got to dig out that picture and show people that picture as well. But she's small in stature, but huge, humongous, cosmic size and personality. She's a Toastmaster, and she was the first female Asian Toastmaster in the UK. She is a speaking coach. She's a communication expert, and she will be helping us to, all of us, myself included, to communicate with confidence. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome this incredible individual, Sonal. Welcome on board. How are you?
Hi, I'm really excited to be here today with all of you. And the reason being is Amit's like a celebrity for me. Like, to be here on Amit's podcast is like, woohoo, go Amit. So for those of you who don't know me, and hopefully there are a few, I am Sonal, as he said, sometimes Sonal Dove, sometimes Sonal Dave, and sometimes Mr. Dave. I get called Mr. Dave. So I was born in Uganda, and many, many, many years ago. And Idi Amin had a bad nightmare. And in this nightmare, he decided that he was a bit concerned because us Indians were just amazing. We were just the biz, right? So he decided that because we were amazing and just the biz, we could take over his country. So what he did was he sent out a pigeon with a little letter. And on that letter, it says, "Dear Indians, I need you to leave the country by this date." So, what does that tell you about Idi Amin? He had a fear. He had a fear of little people like me. Now, when we say little, what Amit didn't tell you was I'm actually 4'9" and petite. And Amit, how tall are you?
6'3".
Yeah, so there you go. It's like that Green Giant advert, isn't it? Where you've got the big green giant and you got little me. So anyway, coming from Uganda, UK, as a young child, my family knew that I was not going to be your typical little Asian girl. I was going to sit in the corner and just stay quiet. I was a child performer. I was performing at the English National Opera when I was 12 years old, and I got to take part in operas like Carmen, Louise, Osud, Hansel and Gretel. For those of you who are much older, I actually got to sing on the album of Murray Head many, many years ago, sing chorus. So, yeah, I was definitely not going to be an average person. Now, there's nothing wrong with being an average person if that's what you choose to do. However, I believe in each of us, there is an above average person. And it's about finding that person, finding what that passion is in you, and bringing that passion out and then going for gold. Unfortunately, fortunately, actually, I should look at the positive. I spent 20 plus years in the civil service. I went from being an admin officer through to being a deputy director. And interestingly, if I'm really honest, it was a difficult time. And I think the difficult time, if I wanted to say what it was in a nutshell, was very much that I was different. I came in as an admin officer. I wanted to work hard. I wanted to rise through the career progression. I didn't want to sit at a desk and, you know, file things and photocopy things. And I wanted to do more. Um, I look back and when I think about it, and today we talk a lot about optimum bias. And I truly believe it was there back in the days. But I didn't at the time know what that was. It was only when I got older I did. I remember being told, people like you don't go very far. I mean, Amit, what does that mean? Who's you? And who's people? Are we not all people? But people were kind of confident and brave enough to say that to you. Or you have to wait till you get the tap on the shoulder and then you can apply. I mean, who are these people that can decide when you can apply for career progression or anything like that? That's kind of wrong. It's up to the individual if they want to progress in their career. Well, hell yeah, let them put the application in and then it's down to them to perform. So through my kind of career in the civil service, 20 plus years, those kind of barriers just kept coming up. Those kind of challenges just kept coming up. At the time, if I'm honest, there were days where it just kind of, oh, what the hell am I doing? Let me just leave this. Why do I want to even put up with this crap? Is it all right to say crap?
Yeah, you can say whatever you like.
Just check it. Is it okay? And then when I kind of rewind and look at it, I actually realize what's that made me become. It's made me become who I am. I don't take crap from people now. If I want to do something and it's a bit hard, I'll find a way to do it. And that's kind of my learning from it. So, maybe one day I'll meet those people who made my life hard, shake their hand, or maybe if it's COVID times, do namaste their hands or elbows or whatever it is that's going the fashion at the time. And really just say thank you because their unnecessary way of dealing with me, talking to me, actually has made me who I am today. And I wouldn't want anyone to go through that. But what I would want is whenever any of you out there are going through, let's say some shit instead of crap, if you're going through it, know that there's a positive outcome from it, but you do have to dig deep to find it. So, who am I today? So, today, as Amit said, I am a Toastmaster. I am a celebrant as well. So currently, I conduct ceremonies for weddings, funerals, naming, and renewal of vows. That's the one. Renewal of vows. I knew there was another one in there. Unfortunately, at the moment, it's the registrar that does the legal bit, and then the celebrant that does the ceremony. But fingers crossed, the law commission has put out a paper where one of the options is to consider allowing celebrants to do the legal part as well. What else am I?
Wow.
I'm also a bit of an actress. I'm a bit of a singer. I do a lot of voluntary work with an organization called Shishukunj and also other organizations where children are involved. And the bit that we don't tell everyone, but I feel I can tell you, Amit, and your viewers and listeners, because I trust you all, I'm also a magistrate. Dun, dun,
Wow.
dun. I have,
Wow.
and I have been since 2004. So I've been sitting for 16 years, but we don't tell everyone that. So that's a summary of me. Oh no, I've forgotten something really important. I'm married to a wonderful guy called Danny, and we have 2 children of the 4-legged kind.
Wow, lovely. I love the four-legged kind of children. I really do,
They're
genuinely.
great. They're
Yeah,
great.
they're better than the two-legged kind.
You don't have to pay for university or any fees like that. It's brilliant.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. Overall, they're cheaper to run. They're a lot more loving. They don't give you any back talk generally. Well,
Exactly.
but then generally it's over very quickly, right?
I totally agree. And the best part is, even if you upset them, within seconds they're back right next to you. Your best friend, definitely.
It's true. It's true. And there's probably not much chance of them ever suing you in life as well, as some kids do nowadays, suing their parents, right?
Yeah, they might bark a lot, but apart from that, yep, definitely, I'll be all right with that one.
Oh, I'm sure their bark is much worse than their bite anyway, so it's fine.
They're 40 kgs each. They're Akitas, Neo, and Ree, and I can't even imagine life without them.
They sound beautiful. I think I've seen a couple of pictures of them, and they do. I mean, like I said, I love all dogs anyway. So to be honest, I would just come there and just give them a big cuddle because I love four-legged furry friends. So that's beautiful. I love your story, and I love the where you've come to, and all the things, the incredible plethora of things that you do, which is wonderful. And this kind of it almost take you're almost a woman after my own heart. Doing different things, trying different things. Like I've obviously had my days where I was a professional magician. I've had my days, and I did a bit of acting on the side. And I've had my days where I was a stand-up comedian and things like that. And so it's nice to just do different things to explore who we are, what we're capable of, and you just don't know what you're going to love and enjoy until you do it. So it's great that you've done all these different things, and most importantly as well, you have found what is your essentially your main passion, I think, in life, right? What you were put here on earth to do, and that is obviously to be on stage helping people, but also teaching people how they can replicate it. Would you say that's fair? That's true?
It definitely is. So one of the things that I have learned through life is that communication and confidence is what's helped me to get to where I am today, doing the things I love, doing the things that make me want to get up and smile. And when I did some research, I found out that actually in the school curriculum, there isn't really a subject that's taught on communicating with confidence. There is something around debate skills, if you're lucky to be in a school that does that. And there is something around the kind of the drama side of it, where you get, the acting and the different types, method acting or whatever it is that's the thing at the moment. But it wasn't really a topic. But actually, I'm a true believer that to survive, whether it's in today's society in 10 years' time, 20 years' time, it's actually life skills that are going to get you through. And life skills like communicating, having confidence, mindfulness, these are the things that are actually going to help you cope with the pressures of an interview, of an exam, of a boss just getting in your way, the pressures of just something not happening the way that you want it to, being able to actually articulate what you want. So for me, yes, it's nice to have grades, and I might upset some parents, but that's okay. I'm okay with that. Grades are good, and they're a piece of paper, but if you come out with 7 A stars, 4 A levels, and a degree, first class honours, but you can't actually communicate, and you haven't got confidence, and you can't cope with the issues of life, what does that mean for you?
Do you know
I
what?
mean,
I love this, right? Starting out with a little bit of controversy here. My favorite. Oh, this is the best. What I was going to say was, AC, this is what I mean. You're a woman after my own heart. Me being a complete high school dropout, yeah, here I am giving talks at universities and schools around the UK. And interesting thing was, I was at a private school giving a talk to these 200, about 150 young men doing their A levels. And on my pull-up banner as well, this was a different subject I was talking about. I was actually talking about wealth and mindset. And I was talking about that, but on my pull-up banner, they all saw that the dating coach thing, and the teacher mentioned it, and there was just this roar with these boys. They were like, "Yeah, come back, talk to us about dating. We need this." And these are the things that people like. Why something like that is not on our school curriculum? It's beyond me. Communicating, talking, wealth management, money, all of these things. I mean, I know we're digressing ever so slightly, but this is like fundamental, important stuff.
no, it is. Amit, it's like I've had some parents that I've spoken to just to say, look, I've noticed, what different environments, I've noticed that your child is a bit shy, a bit of an introvert, what there's so much out there that can help them. What are you doing? It's okay, my child can speak.
Yeah.
Now, you and I both know speaking and communicating are actually quite different things. And when you then put in communicating with confidence, it's a huge different thing. And when I start to explain to them that, communicating with confidence is not just about talking, it's about body language, voice control. The biggest thing communicating with confidence that I teach that surprises people a lot, but I think it's actually a huge part of it, is self-acceptance. There's like, in whether it's a workshop or online courses, there are sections that are all about, now stand in front of a mirror, describe yourself. What do you see? Record what you've just written. What did that sound like listening to yourself? Because one of the big things, unfortunately, that's happened over the years, and it's celebrities that have done it very much, is there's this perception of how you should look and how you should sound, when actually all of us are beautiful in our own ways. My 4'9" is stunning. Your 6'3" is amazing. My beautiful hair. Wow. I keep thinking about cutting it, but I never get round to it because I actually like it as it is. But it's important, whether you've got long nails, short nails, whether you've got a chubby stomach, whether you've got fat thighs, thin thighs, accept it, love it. And that's one of the big things that I spend a lot of time when I'm working with people, because I think it's so important. If you don't love yourself, if you don't like how you look, and if you don't like how you sound, well, you've brought a big barrier, haven't you, to kind of progress in life, because you're always just going to think, what are they going to think about me? Are they going to like how I look? What if I don't sound right? All those negativities are going to come in, and actually you don't need them because you're all beautiful. You're all lovely as you are. You just have to accept that.
Do you know, I was smiling there when you said that as well, because I just wanted to send this picture, by the way, we're going to show everyone as well, this picture of I was laughing and I was smiling there, because when it comes to dating, that is actually the first thing I teach, is getting people in front of the mirror and just having fun with talking about who they are, who they really are. Like, so when I was pre-2008, terrible at dating, I would look in the mirror, go, I remember saying, hi, how are you? But then after post-2000, I was like, hey, good looking. Ooh, I want a piece of that. I get people to do this as just a piece of fun. They all say the same thing. Oh, it's very uncomfortable. Yes, that's the point. Get uncomfortable to the point that it's comfortable, and you'll see the difference in the quality of people you attract, the experience of your dating, everything. And it all starts there. If you could do that, trust me, everything will change. Everything else is secondary. But if you don't do this first thing first, then, whatever else I teach you isn't going to make a difference. But you have to do this first. And because you're right, everyone gets very self-conscious. And the example I would use is that when I first started doing radio, of course, when you're doing radio, you wear, a big pair of thick headphones, something like this, but much bigger. You have these big headphones on, and what are you hearing? You're hearing your own voice. And when you first hear that, everyone is the same. Everyone reacts to say, oh God, is that my voice? What? So first you have to get used to hearing it. But the funny thing is, and I say this to people not in an arrogant way, but actually really love the sound of my voice. And like, not just, when I'm talking in the silly way that we talk about it, but hearing my own voice is kind of comforting. It's kind of nice.
Love it. Do you know what? I remember when I met Danny and we started dating, and we kind of clicked straight away. And I remember, I can't remember if it's the first, second, or third date, but he said to me, has anyone ever told you that you kind of like, express yourself with your hands? And I'm an ex-dancer. Like, I did Kathak dancing, Bollywood, Bhangra and everything. So I'm very much, hey guys, I really want to tell you about something. And I'm like twisting away and stuff. And it was quite interesting, because actually now I've learned to tame that down a bit. But every now and again, it comes back into motion. It's just like, well, I just want to tell you something because I think it's going to be so exciting. But actually, using your hands, not too much, but using your hands when you're communicating, actually engage your audience, don't they?
It
Hey,
does.
I want to tell you something. You're bringing them into the conversation. Once upon a time, you've done your work, all those kind of things. When you learn those skills, oh my God, it's just amazing. Amazing. And by the way, just to let you know, I love the sound of my voice as well.
I love it. I love it. Absolutely. Are you ready for me to show this picture to everyone?
I want to see
this is the first time I'm sharing my screen on one of my live podcasts. So let's hope this works, but let's try if this works. Which screen am I sharing? It's this one. Let's see. Fingers crossed it works. Hopefully you can see this as well. Wait, let me move that out of the way. There you go. Look, she barely comes up to my chest. That's so funny. I love that picture. It's like looking at, like, but have you seen, I don't know if you've ever seen, there's a guy called on Instagram, you have to see him. He's called the Dutch Giant.
Yes.
I mean,
he's huge.
He is. I mean, he would. If I was next to him in the picture, this is exact. I would look like you, and that would be him, right? This is exactly. He's just humongous. But this picture is actually in my favorites, by the way, because I've always loved this picture as well. So it just makes me smile. It's one of these pictures I love. But I just wanted to share that just for the viewers to see. It's very funny. But anyway, all right, okay. So I'm just going to ask you a quick question because my wife is actually calling me on my mobile. Would you believe it as well? So anyway, I was going to say, right, so you mentioned something which was quite interesting. Now, you touched on it, but I want you to do a bit more detail. The difference between speaking and communicating. Go into that a little bit more.
I'm going to push that back to you, Amit. How would you describe it?
Anyone can speak. Well, most people can speak, of course, naturally. But it's like the example I would give to people is, exactly. In fact, let me just go back and backtrack to that example. I could easily say to someone, and I use this example when I'm telling people about dating, right? And I flip it back to my example as a coach. If I said to people, my name is Amit Sodha. I'm a coach, and I coach people. I'm hoping you might hire me for coaching. That's speaking, but communicating and sharing with real passion and storytelling. And if I told you a story about my life, and all it was, well, one day I went to the shops and this happened, and that's for me is speaking. But communicating is me bringing you into that adventure. It's like making you feel like you're there. When even when I'm coaching people, they almost feel like they're on a date with me as well, because they feel like, oh my God, this is so much fun. Like this is, and I'm like, that's the point. This is what it should be like. If you can recreate that, you'll have no problem meeting someone.
No, and to be honest, everything you've said, 100% agree with. I'm a bit worried about you having coaching sessions and them thinking they're on a date with you. Does wifey know about this?
Yeah, luckily she's not watching right now as well. So everyone else watching, zip it up. Anyway, so yeah.
Thing about communicate that when I talk about the difference of speaking and communicating, speaking, yes, we can all speak, we can all have a conversation. But to me, communicating is actually with passion. It's engaging, whether it's one person, two people, 500 people, getting them engaged into what you're saying, communicating a message. I really want to tell you about neuroscience. I actually don't, because I know nothing about neuroscience. But for example, I really want to tell you, Amit, about neuroscience. I've heard so much about it, and thousands of people are talking about it now. It's been in the news, it's been on Sky News. And it's about just using your voice control, almost leaning in your body, not in a really awkward dating way, but in a way where you're kind of getting them engaged in the conversation. And when you do that, you will get a different reaction from people. You will get people looking at you and wanting to engage with you and wanting to know more. And then when you put that into a story, with literally like a once upon a time story, and then this happened, and because of this, that happened, but because of this and that, we got what we wanted. Almost taking them on that journey with you. That's communicating with confidence to me. Speaking is just like having a chat with your next door neighbor.
Yeah. But even that can become a communication. That can become an adventure. That could become fun if you really want it to. I mean, don't get me wrong. We all have days, right, where you're someone speaking to and you just want to get away from there as fast as is humanly possible, right? We're all in that boat. And I'm sure people have thought it about me as well. They're like, why is this idiot still speaking? Get away from me, freak. But, but then, as much as possible, if I can make that experience that people have with me something fun, engaging, exciting, mysterious, adventurous, playful, magical, then all the more for it. And for me, like, that is something that I'm working on more is telling those captivating stories from my life as well, and just working in it so that I feel better telling it and then people enjoy it more. And so let's talk about that, because I think that's a hot topic right now. That's definitely a hot potato, which is the magic of storytelling. So with everything you've learned and about your life, how can people become better storytellers? Where do they start? So rather, most people, what do they say when you meet? hi, what's your name? What do you do? And that's probably the extent of the conversation, right? And it's always about what do you do? But, I say to people, why don't you just burst into a story? But, and I think that's not a bad idea. I do that all the time. What would you say to people who want to get better at storytelling and, really tell people about who they really are? Because let's face it, even if and this is goes for everyone, right? Whether it's dating, business, day-to-day life, at the shops, whatever, people connect with people who have a story to tell.
So, one of the most important things I would say to anyone who is thinking about entering the world of storytelling, and it goes back a little to what we were talking about earlier, which is accepting who you are, how you sound, and how you look. And that's the accepting who you are bit, because we were all born somewhere. We all had a family somehow, a bit of a family, all of the family. We all had something happen at school. We all had something happen at an interview. We all probably messed up some exam at some point. So all of these little snippets are part of your story. So I always tell people when you're starting to do storytelling, write down your own story. And then as you're writing down your own story, keep a yellow highlighter close. I always do.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And highlight the bits that you think, oh my God, that would really inspire someone. For example, when I tell people I was born with a disability. No way, Sonal, you weren't born with a disability. Why are you lying to us? Actually, no, I was born with a disability. So people like, in storytelling, people like to hear things that they don't expect to hear. Like you said, hi, my name's Sonal. I was born in Uganda and then we came to the UK and I'm part of a family and I go to school and now I'm self employed. Boring. But actually, if you actually make it more inspiring by those special moments that happen through your life. So mine was having a disability and the challenges that brought into my life, whether it was physical, whether it was, not being able to go ice skating because mummy and daddy protected me in cotton wool. But really important to who am I? That's the who am I? Where was I born? Where was I born? Who's in my immediate family? Then there's usually a section on storytelling, which is about what's happened to me in life. What are the different things that have happened to me in life? And I always say to people, even write down the things that are difficult to talk about. Because sometimes the things that are difficult to talk about, you may not talk about them today, but as you get stronger, as your skills grow, as your confidence grows, you'll then start to be able to talk about them. Then you've now got an intro. Who are you? You've got some amazing information about you and what's happened through your life. And then the end of the story has to be, and what does that mean for you? What have you learned? And that can be good and bad things. But I just want to step back into the middle section. So I know a number of ladies who unfortunately went through a miscarriage. And recently, miscarriage, baby loss has been huge in the news. And every year, there is a week or month where people talk about it. Now, many of those ladies have all said, if you'd asked me to talk about it 10 years ago, I would have never been able to. However, accepting what happened, growing from what happened, has made them feel confident enough because now they want to inspire other people to be able to know that you can get through it. It is tough and we're here to support you, but they wouldn't have done it 10 years ago. So sometimes when you're writing down, and it shouldn't be just an A4, this should almost be like, half a book of your story, depending on how old you are. If you're my age, it's probably a full book, but it's really important.
Volume, right? Volume 2. No, just kidding.
So
I'm kidding.
actually, it might be on volume 3, but it's so important because, again, another thing. I'm going to say the Asian community, but it's probably other communities as well. But it's the community that I know. We're not brought up to talk about ourselves. We're not brought up to talk about things that went wrong. Our communities don't talk about trauma. They don't talk about autism. They don't talk about baby loss. They don't talk about LGBTQ. They don't talk about it. But actually, it's happening. It's real. And people need to talk about it, but to talk about it, you have to accept it first. And then when you have, or you're in a position that you feel actually, I now can communicate this confidently, and I want to inspire somebody to know that they're not alone, there is support around them, then that is such an amazing thing. But that can only happen if you go through your own story. And your own story is the most inspiring thing to ever put into any presentation, any speech. Whether you're talking about a road trip from London to Scotland, or you're talking about, I don't know, the bar restaurant you went into last Sunday, if you just drop in, and you'll never guess, guys, this reminded me of a time 6 years ago. 6 years ago, I remember XYZ happened. As soon as you start talking about yourself, everyone wants to know. It's almost like people want to know about people. People want to know what you've been up to. What have you been doing behind closed doors while COVID's going on? They want to know all of this. But do you know what surprises me, Amit? Really surprises me is men. And I don't mean men surprise me. I mean men not talking, not talking about any of this. What any thoughts? You're a man. Why would men not feel confident enough to be able to communicate things that they're seeing, hearing, feeling?
That's a really good question. And I would say that partly that is to do with the fact that men are from Mars, women are from Venus, of course, naturally. But I think it is to do with it's almost a self-conscious thing, a little bit, tiny bit. I would say I would attribute a portion to this, which is that, imagine a group of guys, really good friends, hanging out at a bar or a pub or whatever they do in their social setting and stuff, and they're all just chatting as they would, and they're all coming up with their own stories, and they're telling the stories about, oh yeah, I mean, the lads went to this trip, we went on this stag do recently, and like we did it, they'll come out with their stories, and they'll come out, and it's because they're not thinking about it. And usually those stories are very unattached to their emotions. It's more just about having a laugh. And so, but as soon as it comes to, talking about something that creates a sense of vulnerability, I think we do have a little bit of a 200,000-year-old brain that is probably holding, holding us back. Divya on the comments just said as well, men's brains are like compartments. And I would agree to a certain degree, but I think it's more to do with the fact that that because I say this as well when it comes to dating. When I teach my dating, it's what's the word I'm looking for? Non-discriminative. So it doesn't matter whether you're a man, woman, gay, heterosexual, transsexual. It doesn't matter. The same applies. And every human being, whether male or female, has some masculine energy, has some feminine energy. We all exude anyone more so at any given time. Generally, like I could be when I'm there being vulnerable to someone, I'm probably exuding a bit more of my feminine energy. When I'm being a typical bloke, alpha male, that's when my masculine energy is coming out. But I think for guys, what it is, they've just not been taught. It is there. It is innate in us. I think it's in all of us, but they've never been taught to tap into that side. And so because they've never been taught to tap into that side, that they struggle. As soon as you put them on the spot, say be vulnerable, not be directly be vulnerable, but to be vulnerable, for them it's quite a tricky thing to do because they've never been taught that it's okay, that you can do that. And actually it's strength bearing rather than it being something that looks like a sign of weakness or whatever it might be. So I think it comes from that. So that's my long-winded answer to your question. But I've obviously thought about the subject a lot and why that is. And I think that for me is probably a big part of it.
I think there's so the men that I've spoken to recently about this, and they've all sort of said, no, I get what you're saying, Sonal, and yeah, I might want to do your course, but I don't know, it's not really for men, is it? And so when I say, why do you think it's not for men? Well, we need to communicate with confidence, and I'm like, oh, don't you? Okay. So how are you going to communicate when you have your next interview? Well, just be who I am. What if I could tell you there was one thing I could change about you if you came to the course or you did a one-to-one with me, or if you just allowed me to sit and watch you for a day? It's a bit scary, but and then they kind of go a bit quiet. Because what I've noticed is you're right. men are not taught to be vulnerable. Men do, like women, have support groups. They'll have their little gang of men who go to the pub with, or go to, I don't know, racing or whatever it is that men go to these days. My husband's a musician, so if he's ever going out, I know he's going for rehearsals. So it's but even when the lads get together for rehearsals, but when something happens to a couple, whether it's the loss of a baby, whether it's a divorce, separation, I don't know, something awful has happened between the couple, why is it that the man can't talk about it? Why is it that they struggle? So in my role, I bring this up a bit in my role as a magistrate. So I often find in some of the cases where I'm dealing with couples, the woman will come in and she'll be da 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 da, and the man will come in and go da da da. But women are not taught this as well. Men and women as children go to school. Men and women as children may go to college or apprenticeship or a retail job or a mechanic job or whatever it is they choose. Men and women may go to university, and some may just live the world of life, as they say, get their education from life. So we're kind of not brought up differently. We're kind of in the same headspace. And in fact, what's interesting is, and again, I'll just do this for the Asian community, is why do men, sorry, a message just popped up weirdly on my thingy. So when men are in a relationship, men often, not always, take the lead. They'll be the man of the relationship. But why is it that they can't just communicate? Where are those vulnerable soft skills? Why do they not feel? The question, I suppose, really is, why do they feel they don't need them? When actually, if they had them, what a difference it would make to their home life, their working life, their community life, if there's children, the relationship between them and their child. What a difference it would make. What do you think, Amit? Am I just preaching?
No, you're not preaching at all. I think it's good for really good food for thought for people as well. And I agree, but I would also say, I think from my side, what I see so often, and you know what, this again, so like this is why you and I are on such the same page, because this goes back, everything you do and you teach, I do exactly the same, but just mine just focuses on the dating. So one element of communication. And it's the same challenge I faces with guys being able to communicate with confidence, right? And I think that, like, so when I was learning to date, when I was pre-2008, when I was terrible at it, my role models became the guys who initially were pickup artists, initially. But then I looked at other guys who are also had the right balance of being.
I want to ask, do I know them?
There may be one or two, and then there's others that are probably like, there was a guy, for example, there was a guy called Mystery, who was well known on the internet as Mystery, and so he was known, that was his pickup artist name, for example. But then I came across guys who are more led in a more heart-centered way. And I'm glad I found them, because then obviously that taught me totally different side of dating. And ultimately all it did was brought me full circle. So I went through on a journey like this, where I kind of learned some tricks. I, kind of got a bit more comfortable with myself, practiced, got better, got more comfortable. But all it did was just bring me back down to myself, where I just felt really comfortable as who I was. And don't get me wrong, am I perfect at this? By hell no. But what it just enabled me to do, and I'm still bad at this as a guy, being vulnerable about things I'm feeling, like, okay, I'm going to be really vulnerable right now as well. And so this is my practice at it. There were some films that people were watching, they'll be bawling their eyes, and I'll just be sitting there going, well, am I supposed to be crying at this? And there's other things I watch on TV, like, I might watch Super Vet, right? It's a show about, the vet who looks after all these animals. He does incredible things, like pioneering surgery for these animals. And I'll watch a bit of that, and I'll be sitting there with Nirdi, and the tears will be in my eyes welling up, but I can't let the tears out. And as much as I'd love to be able to just be there like a man, oh, it's so beautiful, right? Type of thing. but I struggle to do that. And I think, again, it comes back to it's not that it's not there. It's not that it's not within my capacity. It was almost shut down in a way. And I look at my dad, and he's very sort of, you know, a straight up character. My dad is a very typical alpha male. Obviously, he's much older now, so he's much more, much different as a character now. But back then, he was that strict father figure, that kind of, no emotions, very few emotions shown. And the only other emotion that was shown was anger. And so, because that's all I saw, that's what came out of me more at that time. But it was only when I took the opportunity to learn. So I think it's there, it's present in all of us. But and like you said, right, it's not necessarily something that's taught, but also it could be the other way, which is that it's shut down in us.
Yeah.
And not allowed to express, or we're shown not to express it, or something along those lines. And I think that's where it comes from. When we do singles events, most of the time, it's the women who buy the tickets first. When I do my dating masterclass, most of the time, it's the women who buy the tickets first. Although I will say in the last 6 months to a year, that has changed. The guys are catching up now, and the guys are much more open to it, and they're arranging calls with me. Still, the percentage of women is way higher, but they are coming out of their shell. They realize, actually, I need to work at this. I need to improve. I want to get better. I want to understand the opposite side. I want to understand myself, be able to communicate more comfortably, be able to allow myself to shine. And so they're after this now. They're coveting this. So I think it is there. I'm definitely seeing a turnaround. And what you mentioned about, we talked about Asian, because obviously we're in this culture. So we're indigenous to it. We see exactly what's going on. And I can see firsthand that Asian women are really ahead of the curve now compared to, say, Asian men. That they've gone traveling, they've become very independent. They are goal orientated, and they've decided, actually, that I want something, I want to go after it. The men who were there were used to being introduced to women, so no person actually ever taught them dating skills. No one actually showed them the difference between, say, courtship, between flirting, between seduction. No one knows these things, and this is why I do what I do, because I can teach people these differences, what it really means to communicate, to share value, to communicate with confidence. And so it's that thing, it's there. I think it's just been shut down in many people, and because they've never been taught to harness it and realize how powerful it can be, that it's just stuck them. I'll just say one thing as well. Divya mentioned as well, I need to read the book Why Men Don't Listen and Why Women Can't Read Maps by Alan and Barbara Peace. I wouldn't be surprised if it was very much like Why Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. It's the same sort of thing. And we do have biological 200,000-year-old differences in our brains. We do. And there is no changing that. We're not going to evolve into different beings overnight, no matter how much we try and wrap these things up in feminism and Me Too movement and this, that, and the other. That's not going to happen. And anyone who disagrees with me, I will argue this till I'm blue in the face. We are wired, and we can unwire ourselves, but that takes time. And it isn't going to happen overnight, as much as we try and say to people, you need to change like that. But I think, so going back to the long-winded short point there, but it is that. I think that's what it is. But it's there. It's innate within all of us. It can be unlocked anytime.
I think one of the things that, just coming back on one of the things you said, was, I think one of the things that when I say the royal we forget sometimes that we're human. And actually, it's the human that people want to talk to. It's the human that people want to meet. I remember horrendous dates when I was younger, and they were set up dates, where daddy had said, oh, go and meet this person. And I remember going to a pub in Harrow, arrived early, got myself a large glass of white wine, and he turned up and got himself an orange juice. And his first thing was, will you be able to look after my mum and dad?
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't waste time. I downed this large glass of white wine and I said, I don't think I'm the right person for you. And I walked away. There's almost like an energy when you meet somebody for the first time. And I'm now going into the dating world. So rewind back into the communicating with confidence world. But I think for men, I just think, yes, we are wired differently, men, women. But I think men need to be a little more open. I think men need to be a little more open to learning. And that's where I sometimes find that they almost feel like they don't. It comes back to our speaking, communicating thing, where they feel like they don't need to learn. But if you don't get taught these skills, how are you going to learn? So if they didn't come to you and learn skills, how are they going to be able to date effectively? If they didn't come to me and learn things around self-acceptance, body language, voice control, how are they going to be successful in their own lives? I hear often.
You said
Sorry, go on.
no. Go on.
I was going to say, and I hear often about the issues that happen in the family home. Now, during one of my courses that I do, I teach a lot about top 10 tips about the struggles at home. The whole thing about, Daddy, shut up, I'm on the phone, I'll speak to you later, and then later never happens. Or mum's in the kitchen cooking, washing up, or whatever it is that mum might be doing, sewing, and they're like, Mum, can you help me with my homework? Not now, I'm busy. Instead of, can I come back to you in 5 minutes? I'll just finish my call and then I'll come and speak to you. Do you know, it's those little things that I teach through my work, whether it's for a woman or a man, but it's those little nuances that can change the energy in a room. It can change a scenario, because what's happening in the home that I'm noticing is that because the woman has come and trained with me, but the man hasn't, the dynamics at home are just not working, because one partner is trying to make it work with the skills that I've taught them, and one's going, what the hell is she doing? So in the funny thing I'll tell you is, like, in my children's course, I teach them, so if you want to speak to your parents, what you need to do is be very clear what you want. Mummy, I need to tell you something. Oh, let me do my character voice. Mummy, I need to tell you something, but I just want you to listen. Or, Daddy, I really need to tell you something, but I need your advice as well. Did you like my character voices?
Love it. I won't mind today, don't worry, carry on.
So there's one which is very clear. I want to tell you something, but I don't want a response. And then there's, I want to tell you something and I need your advice. Now that can translate into the adult world, can't it, quite quickly and quite easily, that if we can all be clear with our conversations, how beautiful would that be? Because human nature and human psychology is such that if you say something to me, Amit, I am forced to reply. I must reply. I have to reply because you said something to me. But actually, if you said, hey, Sonal, I really want to tell you something about something that happened today, but I just want you to listen. I'd sit back in my chair, I'd get my next glass of wine, and I'd just listen. But if you'd said, I really want to share something with you that happened today, I feel a bit uncomfortable about it. What? I just want to know what you think. Different conversation. And that's not difficult. That's not difficult to learn. And it's really easy to teach. But I just think it needs to be taught to men and women. And at the moment, what I'm seeing is it's just more women. I was really happy when I got 3 men ready to test my new online course. I was like reaching out to the world. Somebody please say yes.
I love it. No, and this is it. And it goes, like what you were saying there reminded me of something very specific, which is that when we talk about speaking, what I equate that to is logical, i.e. masculine. When we equate communication, that is emotional, feminine. And what for me is emphatically true is that you look at any good leader, male or female, what do? They encompass both. They're able to, through their words, move people. That is, move them emotionally. Simon Sinek talks a lot about this, right? What the real leaders are able to do through leadership is able to move people, bring them in line through inspiring them, not through telling them, but through inspiring them. And that for me is what it is. And if I say to guys, look, you know what, come to my dating workshop, it's going to cost you 70 quid, right? Firstly, that's attacking, that's one right strategy, but in the wrong way, right? That's obviously a logical strategy. But price, logical thinking. They're going to be like, no, 70 quid, no, see you later. But then if I say to them, actually, how would you like to be able to attract any woman you like, right? Here's the, but for the rest of your life, you're never going to have trouble speaking to women, right? So now I'm starting to speak in the masculine language. It's going to make you think, it's going to, like, if I were to say to him, like, it's going to make you into a real stud. Like your male friends are going to be looking at you with envy. Suddenly he's going to be like, oh, this sounds kind of good, right? But it is, so, okay, I would say to you, so what really could a guy do with this, right? Obviously, how could you then share this with a guy so that it speaks to his logical side, but it unlocks at the same time the emotional side? And I think that's the art, right, of what we do when you're selling your course. When I'm selling my course, I'm refining it. I'm working on that to speak to people in the way that they want to be spoken to, in the way that they need to hear this. But yeah, so that for me was like an interesting point that came up when you talked about that whole, speaking versus communicating. That's the logical versus the emotional. It's the masculine versus the feminine, and bringing those two together so people understand. So as a guy, listen, imagine you could become a great leader at work and get promoted as a result, like something like that will just, and speed up your promotion. Or you could, I don't know, get that pay rise that you've been, trying to push for and stuff, and be able to say that to your boss, right? So, those are the things that are going to speak to the guys.
No, definitely. And even for the guys, it's almost like having that skill of giving someone autonomy, right? Guys, we've won the contract. There's a tight deadline on here. I'm just looking around the room and I'm going to focus on tasks to your skills. Now, there's Amit in the room going, I've been looking at spreadsheets for the last 6 months, mate. Give me something else. How is Amit going to do that? Is Amit just going to go, oh, sorry, I know he's going to give me the spreadsheet work? Or is Amit going to say, actually, boss, would you mind if I worked with Lucy on this? And then we can both do spreadsheets and create the presentation. And then boss says, actually, Amit, that's a really good idea. So very factual, very what we got to do. But Amit's got the confidence to say what he wants, because he knows if he gets to expand his knowledge into another sector, when he goes to his next interview, he's going to sound that much better than the other person who hasn't done that. And some of these things, this is going to sound really weird and awful, but some of these things sound so natural, but because we're not taught it or told about it, or it's not mentioned, it doesn't happen. You just sit back in your chair and go, I'll do the spreadsheets.
Yeah.
I'd run a mile if you gave me a spreadsheet.
Yeah, no. So yeah, not my forte either, really, but no, it's so true. And I think that, I the one thing I will say is I'm starting to see a change, definitely. I think guys are opening up more and more. And I think that you will start to notice this more as well. You've seen it already with these guys who come along now, and so there are a few who are opening up to this idea and seeing the power of being able to move people, to really communicate, to unlock their heart, to get people, like, it's literally like almost getting people's putty in your hands type of thing. Speaking in such a way that people do, and I was in a course recently, and someone actually specifically, he was like a world-class storytelling expert, and he was telling people, this is how you do it, this is the formula, and how you tell people your story, your journey that you've been on, to bring them along with you and stuff. And it was so powerful, so simplistic. And I think that as well is key, is how do we keep these things simple? How do we keep them so that they are, we don't bombard people with the details? How do we do it so we don't bombard people with the stuff they don't really need to know, but also, but the stuff that's really important, that's core, and that is teaching people what we're actually doing through the way we do it with them.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that's where sometimes, whether you're doing a presentation, or you're a speaker, or you're about to do an interview, or you're about to lead a team meeting, there are some key things that to think about. And I've actually written down 5. There's 105, but I've written down 5 that I think are like the top 5 that will at least get that door open.
Let's go for it.
Number 1, know the subject matter. What the hell are you talking about? Because if it's neuroscience, I'm not walking through your door. So pick whatever you're going to talk about, make sure it's something that you know about. The second one is know your audience. Who are you going to speak to? Are you going to go and speak to, your grandparents? Then it's a different conversation. Are you going to be speaking on stage in front of 500 people? That's a different audience. Who's going to be in that audience? Is it the CEO of the company that you would love to work for, dream job? Then you know how to kind of put your messaging out. Visualize. This is a great tool that I don't think a lot of people use or may not have even heard of. So that may be why they don't use it. It's called visualization. And it's where you're literally standing in your living room and you close your eyes and you imagine you're at that place that you're going to be doing your presentation, your speech, your interview, your team meeting. And you imagine everyone there or the 3 people that are there, and you actually go through your whole speech in your head, almost watching the front row or the 5 people in your team meeting. So you do everything that you'd prepared, visualizing it. It's quite scary. It's a bit of kind of an out of body experience, but it's amazing. And it just steps you up on that marker. Focus on your message. How often have we been to a presentation and it says communicating with confidence, and we leave learning about alligators and seagulls and whatever else that came into the conversation? Yeah.
Workshop.
And then finally, a really important one is practice. If you're going to be put in a situation where you are going to be speaking at a team meeting, it's your first time, you've just had a promotion, or you've been given the opportunity to put the bid to the sales team or present on a stage, practice in front of that mirror, see all the funny faces you make as you're talking, make sure your eyes are in the right place, not staring at your shoes, what are your hands doing, all those things. Practice, practice, practice. So they would be my 5 top tips for anyone who's watching, listening now or listening later, just to make you just absolutely amazing.
Sounds beautiful. Sounds easy. There you go. There you go. Right. You did it. Your 5-step process. So simple. And it isn't that hard. It's not rocket science. But it is just, you know what, if you can follow that through, follow those steps and just do one at a time, it will turn everything around. And you know what? I know we've gone like way all over the top with this talk today, which is brilliant. I love it. This is for me are the best ones, right? Where we just go completely off beat and off piste. But I want to just fire a couple of things at you for people, because I did mention it earlier as well. Now, big thing at the moment is, of course, a lot of us are on Zoom, and Zoom is a very different kettle of fish. And I can attest to that from when you do when I was doing stand-up comedy. When you're speaking in front of an audience, you're there live. It's visceral. You feel their energy. You feel it. You see everything. You see every movement. You get the feedback of their little laughter, even the body language, everything. But obviously, if you're someone who's about to do a presentation of work in front of 80 people, you are missing a little bit of that human element, right? And one thing I do say to people as well is just have a little bit of Zoom etiquette. Imagine you're speaking to people, do a head and shoulders shot. I've seen people on Zooms do this. I've seen people on Zooms do this, genuinely, right? And I've seen people who are holding this and it's going like this, right? It's like a break is going on. So obviously, my one tip in this area would just be, look, at least learn a little bit of Zoom etiquette. I mean, honestly, I was doing a call for someone the other day and I was getting dizzy. It felt like I was on a roller coaster because it was moving so much. So at least £5 to get a tripod or something, or if you do it on your laptop, you don't have to worry, but don't have it on your lap at least.
Yeah, agreed.
Anyway, so what for you is the main difference from speaking on stage to speaking on Zoom, and what can people do to maximize their impact if they're dealing with an audience on Zoom or any online platform?
So I think, first of all, in fact, some of my 5 key messages actually work here, because know your subject matter, and then there's a practicing. So definitely practice on Zoom. Get your best mate on, send them a link, and both of you have a chat, and you can work out, do you need to be here? Do you need to be here? Do you need to be here? And a really important, which sounds absolutely silly as I'm saying it, and I'm hearing me say it in my head, sit in a comfortable chair. Do you know, if you're sitting in a chair and you're sort of bopping around all the time trying to find your comfortable position, it's going to look unprofessional. So sit in a comfortable chair. Definitely, one of the things I love doing is visualizing. So I'm talking to you, and I know you're in your office, and you know that I'm in my office, but I've visualized I'm sitting next to you. So I'm having banter with you. It's not a meeting.
There you are.
There I am. Actually, I'm under the table. There's, but an important thing that people do forget is, so my camera is on my PC monitor. So my camera is sort of there, that level, but that doesn't mean I sit looking like that the whole time. So again, put your camera on, sit comfortably, get your friend to log on Zoom, and make sure that you're sitting. Another thing that I do suggest, depending on how your office, your lounge, your dining area, wherever you're doing your Zoom from is, if you're like me and you're using a background, it's good to sit in the middle. If you're like Amit, and you've got some beautiful artwork behind you and a flip chart telling everyone that I've been working today, then you sit then you sit to the side. So do kind of I like backgrounds, because then it just means it doesn't matter what's going on behind me. It's a nice background. I sit there. One of the things that I have found with some of the clients that I've been working with online on Zoom is, do you wear a headset? Don't you wear a headset? Do you use a podcast mic? Don't you use a podcast mic? Do you have a sound bar? Don't you have a sound bar? Now, the thing I say to everyone is, one size does not fit all. So you have to work out what's right for you. So if you're doing it on a laptop, for example, and you've got your laptop firmly fixed on a table, meaning that your laptop is here and your head's here, put something under the laptop. Raise the laptop so it's at eye level. Again, do a Zoom link, call a friend. Can you hear me properly? Is it clear enough? Or which, have you had that before? You're trying to do a call with somebody and sorry, what did you say, mate? So you need to know, sure. And one really important thing, and I will leave it there, internet connection. If you're going to be doing Zoom calls, you need to have a stable internet connection. The worst thing you could ever do is you're having a team meeting and you're the team leader and your internet drops out. So it's really important to have a good internet that's stable, that's not going to drop out in the middle of your calls, and that it's not going to make you look unprofessional, which is what you don't want to happen. Now, a question that I'm often asked, interestingly, by ladies: what do I wear?
Actually, something I didn't have on my list.
What do you wear? So again, I would say to them, as with me, wear what you're comfortable in. I mean, if you're about to talk to the CEO of your company, and if you were in the office and you were in a white shirt and maybe a blazer, then do you know what? They're not going to see what you've got on underneath. So if you can have your PJs on underneath, that's fine. Many of us do it all the time. Just put on a white shirt and a blazer. Do you need to put the whole suit on with your 6-inch high heels? No. But importantly, like having a comfortable chair, wear something that you're comfortable in, comfortable clothes. There's a whole new world out there of colors and what suits you and what colors to use depending on your hair color and your skin color and all these other things. So if you're if that interests you, please do look at it. So I know that reds really suit me, and red is actually a color I love, and it's part of my Toastmaster uniform. So very often when I'm doing a Zoom or a live, you'll see me wearing red. So definitely comfortable clothes, comfortable chair, stable internet connection. Decide if you want to wear headphones. And they're not that expensive now, are they, Amit?
Yeah, no, not at all. But they probably have jacked up the price a little bit. But do technology is so good in this day and age? You could probably get a slightly, like, you don't have to go for a branded version. Just go for the simple ones, and they'll be almost, if not just as good. I mean, I'm not even using headphones or anything right now. I'm just using my Mac. microphone and speakers, and they are, they're brilliant, they're top notch. So the sound quality is, in fact, it's better if I use the inbuilt mic than when I used a mic last time. It sounded awful by comparison. So it's worth just checking. You can even use tools to record yourself just to see how it sounds. You can record the Zoom just to quickly hear, or just even film yourself with the camera while you're doing it, just to get an idea of how it looks and how it sounds. And it all makes a difference, right?
Oh, and you know what? And when I say to people, it may take time, but do practice these things. Do practice how you're sitting. Do I need to be sitting forward? Is it a comfortable kind of conversation? How's my internet doing? Where's my head compared to the screen? All of this, because once you've got it right, once you've got it set up, you're set up. It's when you're actually on a live Zoom going, shit, hold on, Amit, I just need to, where are you? Oh yeah, there you are. Okay, when all of that starts happening, that it's almost like it's the start of everything going downhill. So get it right, do all the practicing before, but definitely when you're talking to your team, or you're doing a Zoom, you might be doing a workshop on Zoom or anything like that, visualize it. Just visualize that you're in that room with them and engage them. So let's just say there was 3 of us on this call. It's been really lovely to hear from you. I just want to hear from Divya. So Divya unmutes her mic and she goes, whatever she says. Thanks, Divya. That was great. Tom, what are you up to? Tell me. And again, it's another skill, isn't it? Engaging who you're talking to rather than them just hearing you talk all the time.
Exactly, yeah. And last question I'll hit you with for today is nerves, of course. So I think, again, right, so I'm getting used to this Zoom thing now as well. It took me a while to manage my nerves better when I was speaking in front of large crowds, but I think some people still struggle with it, and I think it is in many ways, I think it's more nerve-wracking when you're talking to a group of people on a Zoom, because you'll start to realize if you're in person that everyone's a little bit nervous, but on Zoom, you don't feel that. You don't get the feedback. They're on mute, so you don't know how they're responding. Are they laughing to your jokes? Are they not laughing to your jokes? So how would you say to people to manage their nerves so that it doesn't impact? It will always have an impact to a certain degree, but, to get yourself comfortable, get yourself into flow as quickly as possible so that you can, have the biggest impact overall.
So first of all, go to the bathroom before you start your Zoom call. So you don't need to go in the middle. Sorry, sounds so basic, but it's so important.
Gotta be done.
So one of the things, some people who are yoga people, you may find that before you go into the Zoom call, do some breathing exercises just to calm your nerves. Those of you who are like me, who like music, put on your favorite piece of music. If I'm going to go into a Zoom call and I've got 20 plus people on there, I like to have something high energy just to help me get into that high energy space if I'm not in it already. But one of the tips I would give you if you're on a Zoom call is there is a chat function. Now, if you're not sure how people are feeling, how they're reacting to you, hey guys, so good to have you all on here today. And so thank you. Do you know what? I can't even thank you enough for actually taking the time out for being here today. How are you feeling? Just pop something in the chat. Nervous, scared, bored, uninterested. They'll put whatever they put in the chat. All right, okay. So I'm going to start by telling you a joke. Okay. Once upon a time, I don't tell jokes, you tell jokes. But anyway, I've told the joke. What did you think of that, guys? Tell me in the chat. So your chat function is your safety net. It's your safety net because you can tell people, ask people to put what they're thinking. What do you think the answer is to this question? Put it in the chat. How are you feeling today? Put it in the chat. Is there anything that you don't think I've covered? Put it in the chat. It's easy to unmute and just tell, but you've also got the other option of using the chat. So you can use the unmute. So and so puts their hand up and you can unmute, or they can unmute themselves depending on how you've set it up. And they say, actually, I'm feeling quite good today. I'm really looking forward to the workshop. And then we unmute Amit and goes, I don't know why I'm here. Just got told by my manager I had to go. And then you just quickly mute him. But yeah, so difference between using the chat facility where you can ask people to say how they're feeling. Did they enjoy the joke? Is there anything they've missed? Important question. Do you understand? Tell me in the chat. Is there anyone that would like to just share what they're thinking right now? Just put your hand up. Or they can use the raise hand. There's a raise hand function in Zoom as well. And then you can go, oh, thanks. Okay, Sandra, I'm muting you. Tell me, what you want to tell me. So there are these little bits that are within Zoom that can make it feel easier and make you feel like they're in the room with you or you're in the room with them. Hope that helps, guys.
Absolutely, and I definitely think that will help the people that I've seen who have challenges in this area and stuff. And I would say to everyone out there, don't worry, because even seasoned people, like I said, I was speaking to someone today who's spoken in front of audiences of 400, who'd done a recent Zoom for the first time, speaking in front of 60, 80 people, and he found it nerve-wracking as well. And I know he'll be the kind of person who'll get used to it very quickly. But everyone, finds it a bit of a struggle at first. When you do something for the first time, it's going to seem weird, foreign, uncomfortable, but the more you do it, the more you practice it, the easier it's going to get eventually, especially when you're implementing Sonal's tips and you're as charismatic and as wonderful as she is. I mean, you'll be knocking their socks off, I'm telling you.
Bless you. I love you too.
So before we go then, one very last quick question. Obviously what we'll do is I'll just say this before we go. So for anyone listening to the podcast, all the details to reach out to Sonal will be there. Anyone watching the live or the replay of the live as well, if you don't see the links, come back in a day or so. All the links and how to connect with Sonal and everything will be there. Plus obviously the audio links as well will be there. And so then you can connect with Sonal much, much easier. But last thing, what's the legacy you want to leave on planet Earth, Sonal? What do you want on your headstone? What do you want people to read about you? And also as well, if you want to answer what you don't want people to read about you as well.
I'm going to leave it as the one I want, because whatever people chat about that I don't want to hear, I just don't want to hear. That's how I am. But what I'd love to have written is what is my motto at the moment, and that is dare to dream, dare to be different. The world is your stage.
Nice.
I live by that.
Nice. I love that as well. Very powerful, very well said, must say.
I need to say it again in my powerful voice.
Yeah.
Dare to dream, dare to be different. The world is your stage.
I love it. I'll leave you with one really quick story. So the guy I was speaking to this morning who was doing the Zoom that I mentioned, he also goes to Toastmasters in Australia, was talking, and he was late for a session and he was new though, but they gave him a table topic to do at the end. And for anyone who doesn't know, table topics are basically where just maybe a random topic is taken out of a hat and the person had to speak for it on that subject for a minute. And the one he was given was a charity he would set up if he was given £1 million to spend in 30 days to set up his charity. What would it be? And the answer he gave was hilarious, and he actually won. It was something along the lines of protecting dog farts or something like that. I don't know what it was, but it was just so stupid and outrageous. And he justified it so well. And he was like, the great thing about dogs when they fart is that you can if you do fart, if it's you, but you can then blame the dog. So it's important to preserve this and help these dogs and care for them and let it happen. So and it was just the way he did it, and it was just his own style. Hilarious. Loved it.
I love it. Absolutely love it. And I agree. Whenever Neo farts, I blame Danny.
We don't have that luxury yet until we get our dog. I don't have that luxury yet. I can't hide it. But when we get our dog, he's going to be in the dog house, the naughty corner very often, I'm telling you. But more often than not, it'll be me. So I want to say thank you. And we went a bit over time. It's all good. We love it. We love doing it. And I love the fact we just went meow all over the shop. That's the best thing to do. So once again, I just want to say thank you for joining me. Thank you to everyone for being a part of the Feel Inspired podcast. I'll be back on Tuesday with a lovely, lovely musician who opened for Justin Bieber as well not so long ago. So that'll be a fantastic one. I'm looking forward to that. And like I said, you'll have all the details to be able to reach out to Sonal. And Sonal, thank you again for being a wonderful, amazing, beautiful, gorgeous, fantastic, delectable, delightful guest on the Feel Inspired podcast.
You are most welcome.
How many more adjectives can I find? I don't know. I'm running out now.
Oh, you are most welcome, Amit, and it's been an absolute pleasure. And yeah, definitely, anyone has any questions, wants to reach out, please do. And if I can't help you, at least I know Amit can.
Yeah. That is my license plate of my car, by the way. By the way, also genuinely, and I was just going to say one last thing as well, which was, is this the best podcast you've ever been on by far?
It's the one that's had loads of different types of stories going through, definitely.
I love it. I love it. This has been a pleasure. Stay on with me as well. We're going to end the live. Everyone else, have a beautiful weekend, and I'll see you all on the next episode next Tuesday. Ciao. Bye.
Bye.